charge.
Okay.
This is a really low seat.
That's why we
Has
need to
anybody
find,
said
that's why
that?
we need to find our stolen chair.
We're live.
We had a chair with the wheels on it.
Oh,
We're
a regular
live.
chair.
We're live.
Oh, sorry.
live.
Are we live?
Talking about important things.
We are live.
Are we live?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
All right, good morning. This is the House Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee. It is Friday, January 16th, I guess.
Yes.
Right. I am Scott Campbell, representative from St. Johnsbury, and we will go around the room here and introduce ourselves and introduce the witness. All right.
Richard Bailey, Lamoille 2. Chris Morrow, Wyndham, Windsor, Bennington.
Michael Southworth, Caledonia 2.
Christopher Howland, Rutland 4.
Dara Torrey, Washington 2.
Graham Kleffner, Chittenden 13, Burlington.
And in the room we have.
Dana Lee Perry, Necrassi Group.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Hey, witness.
For the record, I'm Representative Kathleen James from Manchester, and I'm here to continue our committee practice of giving bill sponsors a few minutes to pitch their bills, kind of high level. Here's what we're thinking. So I've got two bills I'm going to run through. And then if and when we take these off the wall, obviously, Ledge Council will come in and do an actual walkthrough of the statutory language, which I really can't address. And obviously, we would get a wide range of witnesses. So I've got two bills that came to our committee. I'll start with H598. That's a plug-in solar bill. And H598 is it's a pretty simple bill. It would allow Vermonters to use portable solar energy generation devices, which is commonly called plug-in solar, balcony solar, without having to get a certificate of public good from the Public Utility Commission. So I think the most important context for our committee is that this is a companion bill to a Senate bill that was introduced over on the Senate side. And the Senate is working on this bill right now. They are taking testimony, they're tweaking it, they're revising it. And so I'm actually not thinking that we're going to take this bill off the wall. I think we should wait and see what the Senate does, because I know they're hearing good testimony and making changes, and see what comes over after crossover. But I still wanted to give you guys a heads up. So the plug-in or balcony solar units they're small solar systems. They're typically no larger than 3 typical solar panels, and you plug it into the wall. And so they're great if you have a small home, if you don't have roof space, if you don't want to do a ground mounted. So they're typically used for people who live in apartments or have a small home, or for renters. And so you plug it in, it generates a little bit of electricity. It helps bring your energy bill down or your energy usage down. They're not different from typical solar panels. So my understanding, and believe me, we'll get folks in to talk about the tech. I'm sure people have questions. It's what makes them different is the inverter that allows you just to plug it into the wall. They can be no more than 1,200 watts. And what this bill does is that it simply says if you buy one of these and plug it in, you don't have to get a certificate of public good from the PUC. The unit has to be certified as safe by some of the national testing organizations that make sure that these units are safe. I know that's something they're learning more about on the Senate side. The building has to be connected to the grid, and you have to notify your utility, but not get their permission. And they would not be eligible for net metering.
Question?
Yes, I would. I do have a question and a related comment for those who aren't fully familiar with this delightful technology. The power never hits the grid. It stays in your house. You can't sell power, as the witness said, not eligible for net metering by rule, but also technologically impossible, because you can't feed power backwards into the grid with these units. They can be paired to the battery. It's a minimum systems, a panel and an inverter, but you can also pair it with a battery which functions the same way. It stores the energy you get during the day. You can use it at night, but it does not hit the grid at all. Which leads me to my question. Why does the building have to be grid connected?
I don't know.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, that is
my
interesting.
question.
Great question.
In order to be regulated, if you've got a camp. So anyway, we'll do that in testimony, but
Okay.
there's a lot more to this than just statements we made. And we'll take that up with a testimony.
We will.
So
And my understanding is that I don't think these are that widely available yet, right? I mean, it's sort of an emerging technology. I
Emerging
don't
in the
really know the
US.
answer.
Widely available in Germany,
Okay.
from what I understand. So
Where they have two tools.
so we will, excuse me, go ahead.
Have they been tested under Underwriters Laboratories? Are the UL approved?
Yeah, I think that's what, just actually from an article I read, I think that was what the Senate is taking testimony on because and revising the bill accordingly. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the details, but something that they learned in their testimony about how it works with UL means that you might have to require an electrician to install it, which would make it more expensive. So they're trying to tweak that or fix it or look into it on the Senate side. I don't know the answer.
Okay, and just one other quick question, landlords, how does this affect them? What are their rights now, allowing it or not allowing it on their buildings? Because
Yeah,
they own them,
I don't know.
just food for thought.
Yeah,
So so this comes across from the Senate,
mhm.
we will take additional testimony here.
We'll take all of the testimony. I just don't think it's worth it to start with this bill because they've already found out something about UL and how that works. So there's no point in taking this up. I think we should wait and see what the Senate does. And then,
We got a lot to do between now and Carl.
yeah,
Yeah.
Anyway. And one of the things that I recall being concerned about is there any chance these things would energize the system when it was otherwise shut down? So offline, perhaps with an outage or circuits, somebody going into the panel to do something. And apparently there is a fail safe about that. I don't know exactly how it works technologically, but
I saw the same
yeah.
mention
Yeah.
that would be an important safety consideration and there's some tech
So-
built in, but I also don't know about that.
Yeah.
One thing that I think would be cool, is that, VPIRG has one.
Mhm.
And so I don't know who was in the room, but we were looking out the window the other day and they were hauling something into the building. And I think it'd be neat to
Yeah.
get it in here when the bill comes over and see what they look like and check them out.
See if we can electrocute ourselves.
I think Climate Solutions Caucus is planning to have that available. We're gonna have like
Okay,
a field day.
yeah.
One question for you on, the Senate. Do you have a sense of how quickly it's gonna move out of there?
I don't know. I mean, they're already working on it. I mean, let me put it this way. I'm fully expecting the bill's gonna get here.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's gonna be April or something.
long
It seems
it will
like they're
take.
moving it along.
Yeah, and then so it should be shorter in our committee if they've done more of the,
Yeah, I guess it depends.
Yeah.
You know, we'll want to hear from, there's a lot of people we'll need to hear from. We want to understand the tech, we want to understand the safety. Gonna need to hear from the PC, we're gonna need to hear from utilities. I mean, we'll start from scratch, but it'll be from a bill that's already taken some of this stuff into account and hopefully fixed it.
Mike, your question.
Cost,
How much do the units cost?
just wondering cost versus the end result of savings. Are they financially a good thing for people, or are they just something that's another flash in the pan where, you know,
Yeah.
these are great, but the end result is you're not offsetting costs as much as you should in order to make it viable?
Yeah.
I think the point of this bill would be to just allow people to do it if they want to. So I suppose that would be their decision. You know, they could crunch their own budget numbers.
Yeah, I don't know what the costs are either, except that PV panels have come and dropped through the floor in cost in the last 10 years. They're 95% cheaper than they were 10 years, something ridiculous like that. So I think, my guess is the cost in putting in a PV system on your house is not the panels themselves, it's all the other stuff. Right. Right. So just a panel, an inverter and a wire is probably cost is perhaps.
Google's AI says they cost between $400 and $2,500, depending on size, between 400 watts and 800 watts.
So you're believing AI again?
Thank you.
We wanted to
I was careful.
Too, man.
I was careful to cite the source before I cited any of the information, so it could be appropriately discounted.
I mean, to be honest, I think this is a really interesting concept. I love for people who want them to be able to get one. But I haven't done a summer long deep dive,
Representative Bailey.
So, yeah, my question is how does it not, how do they use and I know this will be in further testimony.
Yeah.
How you get that into your apartment and not screw up what's going on in the whole building?
Yeah.
That's a good question, because they're supposed to be, great for renters, right?
Right.
So that'll be something for us to learn about. When you look them up, the pictures often show like an apartment balcony, right?
Right, I understand that, but you're trying to use the electricity in your apartment, and how does that not go into the whole system, the whole building?
Yeah.
Unless it's individually metered, unless each apartment's individually metered.
In most cases, apartment product, it's easy.
There's a lot more to it that I think we have to
Yeah.
wait until testimony
Yeah.
because having been in the other side of the meter chart and haven't been involved with photovoltaics since the 1990s. We'll wait for testimony.
Yeah. Be interesting to delve into it.
Hmm?
It will be interesting to delve into it.
Yeah,
All right. We have another bill.
I do.
Representative.
So H600, this is about appliance efficiency standards. Another thing that I have a high level understanding of. So, again, we'll need to do a walkthrough and take this. This one will especially need a walkthrough because there's a lot of strikeouts and stuff that Ellen can explain because she drafted this. But it boils down to a nut. So now the nut. So there's a federal program. It's an existing longstanding program. It's been in place since 1987, and it's administered by the federal or National Department of Energy. It's called the Appliance and Equipment Standards Program, and it covers about 70 product categories, and together, these 70 product categories account for about 90% of the energy that we all use in our homes for our appliances. So we're talking about your fridge, your freezer, your dishwasher, your washing machine, your dryer, your microwave. And this federal programs, for the last however many years, however many decades, has been setting minimum baseline efficiency standards that are uniform across the country that all manufacturers are required to meet. So you cannot sell a fridge or a dryer or a washer in the United States that doesn't meet these minimum baseline efficiency standards. That's the current world. So, and I will just say, because I got confused about this, it's different from Energy Star. So we have these baselines, right? Like you can't sell a fridge. Whirlpool can't sell a fridge that isn't at least X efficiency. And then Whirlpool can also go for the voluntary Energy Star certification. That's a higher threshold. So, it can try to meet that higher Energy Star thing. But this bill's not about that. We're talking about the federal baseline. So the reason that the United States has this program in place and has for a long time is that I'm sure most of us know more efficient appliances save money on your electric and water bill. So we're trying to help customers save money on their energy bills and on their water bills there's some stats I looked up, in 2024, as a result of having these standards in place, the average American saved about $576 on their annual energy bills. That's per DOE. It also sets a level playing field for manufacturers. There's sort of like a uniform baseline. You got to hit this standard no matter what the state. So it's more of a level playing field. And if you don't hit that, you can't sell the product. So we have this program. The standards get changed and updated from time to time. Manufacturers have to comply. And then this is where my bill comes in. States are allowed to establish or set their own standards only in product categories where there is no federal standard. So if there's a federal standard, that's what we all do. If there's no federal standard in a particular product category, states can set them. So right now we have a broad range of these appliance standards in place at the federal level, but the Trump administration is trying to eliminate them. So there's action at the federal level. The Trump administration has started a process to try to eliminate the appliance efficiency standards in the United States. And if that happens, there won't be any minimum baseline that manufacturers are required to meet. If that happens, Vermont could keep our standards in place. So I know this is a 12-page bill, but that is what this bill does. It says that if and only if the Trump administration eliminates the efficiency standards for appliances, we will keep them in place as of, and the date in there you can see is as of, it's basically the last day of the Biden administration. And we do this by asking the DPS to write rules. So, and I'm sorry that was so long, but I had to wrap my head around this too. So we did this once. We did this during Trump 1. So this is not a new or novel concept. This legislature, the legislature passed a bill in 2017 accomplishing this. We passed it. Governor Scott signed it. And the goal, obviously, is that our marketplace doesn't turn into a patchwork of like substandard appliances. So the bill, and this is where, if we take this up, Ellen will come in. So pages 1 through 4 strike out some old language. Happy to have Ellen explain that. That's a cleanup. Page 5, you can see the actual thing happening. It says the commissioner shall adopt standards as they exist on January 19, 2025. That was what I mentioned as of the last day of the Biden administration. DPS would only do this if this happens at the federal level. There's a trigger, right? DPS doesn't just go off doing this. Mention that we did this before. Then there's more cleanup. Then one thing I had to understand on page 6, I mentioned earlier that if there are product categories where there aren't any standards at the federal level, states can do them. Vermont has done that. So we did that. And we have them currently in place right now in Vermont. There are no federal standards, but we have standards in place and have had. I'm not proposing this is new. For commercial dishwashers, commercial fryers, commercial steam cookers, etc. So that's a place where this is already what's happening in Vermont, but you just, sometimes we just see the full statute. Page 8 and 9, more cleanup. Page 10, more cleanup. Page 11, this is how it is right now. And then the effective date, this would take effect on July 1, but the work wouldn't actually happen unless the standards disappear at the federal level. That, folks, is my understanding of the
Any
topic.
questions?
Yeah, Rep Southworth.
So this would be a multi-committee bill. Because I'm failing to make the connection between urinals and faucets with energy and digital infrastructure.
Well, energy use. So I think urinals and faucets would be, I don't know, your water bill, right? So I mean, the broader point of this bill is energy use.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, that's why, I look at the other pieces as water use, which would fall into environment
I don't know the
rather
answer to that.
than, yeah. It just, I can't really make that correlation unless somebody can make it more clear for me. But
Yeah. It's basically an energy affordability.
utility matter.
It's a utility thing, I guess.
Well, and,
Because we do utility.
and in the case of a private well, cooperative or your pump.
Boy, to me, that's a stretch. Anyway, I just,
Yeah, so whose jurisdiction is that? I mean.
Right.
but-
I don't know. Yeah, we do utilities, so I guess water use. But I hadn't thought about that. I don't know.
yeah, I would really just like to hear a little bit more clarification on how that would fall into that. I understand the electrical part of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Don't
didn't think
understand
about that.
If we did this during the first Trump administration, why do we need to do it again?
That is a great question for Ledge Council.
Okay.
I think I know the answer, but I'm always really hesitant to say when I think I know the answer. I think the answer might be that they have been updated since then.
Any other questions?
My thought process is how long does it take in the manufacturing process to make a change to something that wouldn't meet the standards that are in place today? And
Yeah, I mean, I think I know what you're
and
asking. One thing I was wondering about was if they get rolled back at the federal level, are manufacturers going to suddenly start making less efficient substandard appliances? I don't, is that what you're getting
Well,
at? Because I wondered.
right,
about that.
I would, I've never been a manufacturing engineer, but you make a model, you make one, you test a bunch of them. This is the mean or of the thing, you start selling them. We all gotten read consumer reports and they say this car is wonderful, but you got the car that the ball joints went out on. And so, but so you could, they don't test every one, but maybe they know, excuse me, maybe a manufacturer knows when a punch are substandard. So they may make ones that they intend to sell under the federal standard that don't meet this federal standard and they sell somewhere else. I don't know.
I don't know either.
But I don't think they openly reduce the quality in
You would hope
a
not.
quick amount of time to make a difference. And then the other point is that are you limiting the marketplace of what's available to the public
I think you
when you're
probably would be. Yeah.
only the state?
I don't suspect that the risk is a manufacturer will lower their standards. I think the risk is someone will start importing stuff that doesn't meet the current standards from a market where the standards are lower.
Ooh.
You can immediately have.
Not with the tariffs in place.
Yeah.
Okay. Legit.
Oh, they'll cut the tariffs. All right, anyway, gypsy joke. Any other questions?
Okay, so TBD. Does anybody else want to go? We have 10
I can
minutes.
go.
Okay,
It should
great.
be less than 10 minutes.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the good questions.
Okay, for the record, Chris Morrow, representative of Weston, here to discuss H 651. This bill is to start a discussion related to 30 VSA 248B. and the Public Utility Commission's mandate with regarding siting, especially solar facilities, and the aesthetic criteria. So this is a very simple bill. It's basically a page and a quarter, one page to remove the aesthetic criteria from the Public Utilities Commission's criteria for evaluating projects. The theory behind this being that aesthetics is a very subjective criteria, and I question and want to hear all your input on whether a few lawyers in Montpelier should be making the aesthetic decisions for various communities around Vermont. And as we heard yesterday in testimony, they're related to telecom. There are pros and cons to this conversation. Just for reference, I will pass around the actual rule so that the Public Utility Commission did rulemaking around the aesthetic criteria. This is also available online on their website. This is just, they've developed something called the Queechy test, which is how they internally assess aesthetics. This is just for reference when if and when we start taking testimony on this, this rule will be pertinent to our conversation, because this is what they use for evaluating aesthetics. So it's very simple bill in concept. It's complicated in practice. And I look forward to having a discussion about it.
We're going to keep going here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, can you keep going? I need to-
Are there any, perhaps out there?
Do you have a sense or know of how many cases have been denied based on the aesthetics?
I know of some, I don't know the numbers. No. Yeah.
Was the man? I'm sorry.
Is this addressing some of the questions that were raised in a Bennington or Shaftesbury siting of large,
Well,
very large solar plant? I think it was 20 megawatt plant.
they did assess aesthetics in all solar siting. They have it required to consider aesthetics.
And the aesthetics, and the aesthetics of that site passed the present test. So will this bill make it more restrictive, or just it's not looked at all? And
It wouldn't be a criteria for them to use. Like yesterday, for example, we heard in telecom, they're not allowed to assess health effects because of, I think it's a federal exemption or something.
Yeah.
And so their process would just not involve aesthetics. It would involve the more concrete criteria that it's more data driven. And so, there's pros and cons to this clearly, but I think it deserves a conversation.
The chair has a question.
So, just bouncing off what Rep. Howland said. Rep. Murray, you and I haven't even really talked about this bill. I mean, I knew it was coming. Thank you. So it would, by removing aesthetics as a criteria, the PUC and that would just no longer be a consideration. So how project looks would be off the table under the PUC process and for community members who want to engage, right? So it would just be like, sorry, we don't consider how it looks.
Right.
And I wanted to know your why. I think I know it, but I don't want to speak for you. Because it's controversial. This is a controversial notion. So
Yeah.
I want to know your why. I'm pretty sure I know it, but I speak for yourself.
Yeah, well, there's been some examples of, including in your district, Madam Chair, of projects that have been denied solely on the aesthetic criteria. Not, there was no other criteria that they used to deny a solar project. And that was the original impetus of the bill, to maybe we should shift the language to say that you can't deny solely on aesthetics. That would be another consideration. But given the highly subjective nature of this and the another bill I'd like to introduce would be to discuss who gets standing in these hearings. About, I think that it might be too wide a group of people that get standing in these hearings to contest various citing. Yeah, that was the original impetus. And to Representative Howland's point, you have a small project in a brownfield that nothing else can be used for, that's denied on the aesthetic grounds, but then you are allowing a mountainside to be deforested to put in a huge solar array. It doesn't pass the smell tests on some level, and I think it deserves discussion.
Tori.
No, you're, just have it. You're in charge.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate this, Bill, and in the timing of the discussion yesterday, like being an infrastructure committee, like this is it, right? It's like public good of infrastructure, having enough power portably, having cell coverage, like all these really urgent, important public needs, and trying to do that in a way that acknowledges place and preserves character. And it's a big challenge for us. And at some point, I feel like we could face in Vermont such spiraling cost that we might have to, have something like maybe it can't be the only criteria. Just because we get to a place where we're getting in our own way so much that we're all paying too high a price. So it's a challenge, and I we'll be talking a lot about this stuff in this committee.
I think it might be a hard sell in a place that bans billboards. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Any thought or is any information given on how this A would affect town plans and B, how it affects landowners of the state of Vermont?
Did you say the first one again? Like
Town plans, how it affects town plans?
oh, town plans. Okay.
Yeah.
This wouldn't, as far as I know, affect town plans. This is
But if
strictly
they have it built into their town plan, aesthetics,
Mhm.
that's going to be an issue, correct?
There is in-hand
The
energy
deference.
the town had.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah, we'd have to dig into that one.
Yeah.
To continue Tori's point, a lot of the decisions we make involve trade-offs, and having a clean process for getting to decide, who decides and how we decide, how we move forward, because many of these things, they're going to be people in favor and people against. There's going to be pluses and minuses, and hopefully someone's weighing out where's the balance for the public good. And as Rep. Campbell pointed out, we do have a community interest in the beauty of our state, both because we like to live in a beautiful place and because much of our economy depends on other people coming to visit our beautiful place. And it is also true that whether a solar field is beautiful or ugly is entirely in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
On many levels. But I think for us, kind of conceptually getting clear that we are going to be making decisions about trade-offs, and we're going to have to accept you can't have everything. You can't have a state that looks like wilderness and have a place where people can earn a living and afford to live. Those are just in conflict. And, we're, as a state, trying to sort through it, trying to encourage compact development to keep the hillsides forested, and what we do with ag lands that are fallow whether we put solar on them, whether that ruins them or enhances them, and how we trade that off is,
A complicated issue.
it is part of, it is our job. It's what we have been hired to do.
Hired?
Engaged. Inscripted.
Any other thoughts?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Mark.
much. Great. So we're, yeah, I guess we're ready now for.
Yeah, why don't we take it, why don't we go out live?